Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Cavletics, an inside look into Bossier Parish Community College Athletics Department. I'm your host, Charlie Cavell, and once again, I'm visiting with BPCC Cavalier Athletic Director, John Rennie. John, welcome to the show, and thanks again for joining us. In our first episode, we reviewed the 2017-2018 school year. If you missed that episode, don't fret. You can view it on BPCC's YouTube channel. But before we dive into the 2018-2019 school year, which began back on August 9th, John, I'd like for you to briefly discuss your decision to step down as the head women's basketball coach and step into the full-time role as the athletic director here at BPCC. What prompted you to make that decision?
Yeah, it wasn't the easiest decision to make. I started the women's basketball program from nothing. It was a brand new program, and they hired me to come in and be the head coach, which was a great honor to be selected to do so. But for the past 4 years, I've been head women's basketball coach and athletic director simultaneously, and I just felt like for me to do one job or the other the way I would really like to do those jobs, I had to concentrate on one. Any coach is very passionate about being successful and doing the best that they can in everything that they do, and it was just really difficult to give the best that I could in both jobs, and I felt like it was the best move for women's basketball and our athletic program for me to do one or the other, and it's exciting for me because I see a lot of potential in our athletic program and all of our sports, and so for me to be able to oversee and really work closer with our coaches and developing them and also developing our student athletes, it was just a great opportunity for me.
You have some new things happening in BPCC athletics, starting with the return of men's and women's cross country. Take us through the decision process that you, as well as the administration, made to bring cross country back, and who you selected to lead the program and why. Sure.
We knew we knew we were just suspending cross country for just a year. It wasn't a permanent move that we were going to make. We knew we wanted to start it back up. And in fact, soon after you came on board with us, you and I were having a conversation, and you mentioned Kent Faulting, who's the cross-country coach at Parkway. And Kent's had a lot of success running that program there, working with track and field at Parkway. And Kent had a little bit of interest in possibly coming on board and helping us out. And so Kent and I gave him a call, and we talked, and just kind of one thing led to another, and it just worked out for us, it's a great addition for us to have Kent and his assistant coach, Aaron McGee, have two people who are big parts of South, not just the South Bossier community, but the Bossier community as a whole, to come in and lead up that program and get it started back. And Kent's done an amazing job already. We've got a lot of great athletes on that program for this year. They've already ran in one meet and had some pretty decent success in that meet. Interesting thing about cross country is they run against four-year schools. It's not just junior colleges they're running against. So those kids are out there competing against juniors and seniors that have been doing this for 4 years. And so it's a difficult task to take on, but they've done a great job, and we're excited. They've got a meet here in Bossier tonight, and so we're excited to get that going and just to watch the progress that they make through the year.
Well, let's hear from Coach Kent Faulting and get his thoughts on his cross-country program.
I've always wanted a challenge as a coach, and the idea of starting with a roster of 0 and getting to pick the kids that you want to be a part of something and have them start forming a legacy. It's a daunting task, but it's really an exciting one too. I'm Kent Faulting, and I'm the head cross-country coach at BPCC. These kids have been pretty dedicated to running somewhere between 40 and 60 miles a week. We do 2 speed works a week where we get them either out on the track or on the grouse field running miles and 400s and different things at really high intensity paces to kind of prepare them for what a race feels like. And then we do a 11 to 12 mile long run every Saturday, and it's hard to find people that are willing to put themselves through this, but we're really blessed with a group of kids that came out and want to do this, and they're going to have a lot of success doing this.
Thanks to Christopher Hale for filing that report. Cross country isn't the only sport with a new coaching staff. As we discussed earlier, John Rennie decided to step down from his position as the head coach of the Lady Cavaliers basketball program. And on April 19th, BPCC Athletics named Brenda Welch Nichols as its new head women's basketball coach. Hiring a new coach for a program, John, that you began had to be an arduous process because you don't want to just turn your baby over to just anyone. How did you approach that process, and what were you looking for in the next women's head coach?
Yeah, it was a very difficult decision to decide to step down as women's basketball coach. Not just only was the program kind of my baby, but there's student athletes, there's girls on that team that are like my daughters, because that's just the connection and bond that you form with them. And so, letting them know last spring that I made that decision was tough, but I told them and reassured them that look, as athletic director, my job was to find the best candidate to replace me, and that I would work as hard as I could to do so. So as soon as we knew that we were going to go in that direction, I got on the phone and I started making calls to the contacts that I have, and we started building up the application base and got a lot of great response on the applications, and we're very, very fortunate to find the right fit for us. We hired Brenda Nichols, and to be able to get Brenda to here and as our head women's basketball coach was quite an accomplishment. Brenda comes in with 16 years experience at the NCAA Division I level, and played at the junior college level and coached at the junior college level as well. So it's kind of a coming back to her roots for her, and I know she's excited about that. But I'd actually met Brenda probably about 4 years ago. I went to a coaching clinic, and she was one of the speakers at that clinic, and met her. Didn't really necessarily establish a relationship with her then, and a great contact with her then, but just knew of her. And when I made this decision, and we decided as a athletic department to make this move, I knew she was kind of in between jobs. She had just stepped down as Sam Houston's coach, and so I made a couple phone calls to friends of mine, coaching friends of mine that I knew her pretty well, and they suggested to reach out to her, and so I did. I called her, and she wasn't the only phone call I made. I made a few phone calls just because, anytime you hire a new coach, you want to have the best group of candidates that you can select from, and we were blessed, very blessed to have great candidates to select from. It just happened that Brenda just kind of stood out with her experience and the connections and relationships that she has in the business. So we're really excited about that.
Nichols comes to BPCC after spending, as you heard John say, the previous 12 years as the head coach at Sam Houston State University in Huntsville, Texas. In her 12 years at Sam Houston, Nichols won Sam's first Women's Southland Conference Championship, earned a first NCAA Division I postseason tournament appearance in the Women's Basketball Invitational, also known as the WBI. In total, Nichols has 16 seasons of experience as an NCAA Division I head coach, having spent 4 seasons at Mercer University prior to Sam Houston. After winning the Southland Conference regular season in 2013, the Lady Bearcats played in the Women's National Invitational Tournament, or the WNIT, for the first time in school history, playing a first-round game at Tulane. Nichols' players over her period set 27 school records and earned all Southland Conference honors 12 times during her tenure in Huntsville. How fortunate were you to land a coach the caliber of Brenda Nichols?
Yeah, it was a blessing for us for sure, and not just to land Brenda, but as you can see from some of the images that were on the screen, we not only got Brenda, but we got her family. She's got 3 kids, and her 2 youngest are here with her and attending Benton High School and Benton Middle School. But Brenda just brings, in addition to her experience, the relationships she has within women's basketball. In fact, just to kind of hit on that a little bit, Brenda's a big part of the WBCA, which is the Women's Basketball Coaches Association, actually serves as a mentor in that organization for younger coaches. So to bring that, that experience, those contacts, but more so than that, just the energy and kind of charisma that Brenda has. It's exciting for us. We know that she's going to do great things, which lets me rest easy at night, because it was a difficult decision. I want to make sure that we go in the right direction with that.
Coach Nichols has 5 players returning from last year's team, led by point guard Monette Bolden from Erath, who was the second leading scorer on the team and a player I know you think could be a real difference maker for the Lady Cavaliers.
Yeah, absolutely. All 5 of the girls that are returning, I think, are going to make an impact for this year's team. At the junior college level, experience means a lot, because you only got 2 years, and so to bring kids back that have experience, and all 4 of the girls got to play last year. 1 girl was a red shirt, but they've got the experience, whether it be on the court or in the classroom, and so that plays heavily in their favor. But Mo, as we call her, we had 2 Mo's last year, a Mo on the men's basketball team and a Mo on the women's basketball team. But Mo absolutely will make a huge impact on the team this year. She brings a lot of talent, a lot of athletic ability, and really is just fun to watch.
Earlier this week, Chris Hale caught up with Coach Nichols to get her realistic expectations for her Lady Cavaliers.
The biggest thing we talk about a lot is when the ball goes flat, what will you be doing? So we try to teach them that, every day you wake up, there's choices that can be made. You make the right choices and it's going to be a great day. You make bad choices, there's consequences always. We just try to instill the core values of family, doing the right things, taking care of your business, and that, you got to live in the moment a little bit. You got to appreciate what you got right now. It's just something that as a child I started playing and I fell in love with it, and it's just something that, you got to love what you do. I come to work every day and I love it. We're really just working on fundamentals, just getting to know each other. A lot of conditioning, a lot of fundamental work, and just skill work, just putting it all together and becoming a team. Well, I think the biggest thing is if we come together as a team and a family, we can do a lot of things together. And that's something we've really been focusing on, just trying to work together, put it all into one big pot of gumbo. Hey, put it all in. If we could be a family, get all our fundamentals down, get the skill work done, learn the plays, and put the ball in the basket. Hey, that's good eating now, huh?
Again, thanks to Chris Hale for filing that report. After the success of last year, Coach Chris Lovell and his basketball team, his men's basketball team, have just 1 starter returning. But Chris believes that with the recruits that he's brought in, and that they have a real chance to be something very, very special and to continue on last year's success. Do you get the same feeling when you've been talking to your old buddy, Chris Lovell?
Yeah, I do. And, one nice thing about moving into a full-time role as athletic director is I can get out and watch the sports practice more, the teams practice more. Whereas before I was coaching the women's team, so I would go to I would be obviously at their practice and step off and be busy with other things. But talking to Chris and going out and watching those guys practice, they definitely have a great group of recruits. Our first week of school, I noticed they were out in the parking lot doing some conditioning drills, and I thought they had gotten in trouble or something. And so I went out there, and Chris was like, no, they called and they said, Coach, we just want to run. That's the kind of athletes that he's brought in. I mean, he's got guys that they want to be better. They know the opportunity they have here, not just to be a part of a winning program, but what junior college is about. They have an opportunity to move on to bigger and better things once they leave here. And so it's going to be exciting to watch the progress that they've made and the talent that they have this year.
Besides a bevy of new players, Coach Chris Lovell also added 3 new coaches to his staff, starting with top assistant coach Ashante Jones and 2 other assistants in Derek Alamaw and Chance Lemaire. And Carl Harris returns is the lone returnee to Coach Lovell's staff. Now we turn our attention to baseball, where baseball coach Bobby Gillum has brought in about 60 new players, trying to find the best 9 he can put on the field. But he also has a new coaching staff as well. Tell us not only about Bobby's new coaches, but as well as the positives and some of the negatives that come from having that many players with so few positions trying to get on the field.
Sure. Yeah, the new coaching staff Bobby has in place, they're already doing a great job. He's got Coach Steve Nutt, who helped a little bit last year, came on late last year, but Coach Nutt is back, and then John Phillips and Josh Hendricks. All three of those guys bring in a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. So they're going to be great, and Bobby needs that with the multitude of players that he has. Putting the right staff together when you bring in that many players is very important, and Bobby's done a great job getting those guys together to do so. The advantages and disadvantages of having so many players on the team, obviously there's so many guys that it makes getting reps a little bit difficult in practice sometimes. And then it's just the management perspective also of having that many players can be difficult, but Bobby's done a great job with that, and having that new staff on board helps with that as well.
I guess I could have answered that question a little bit, because having coached baseball for as many years as I have, it's very difficult. I mean, if you have most like travel ball teams and teams of that nature only have about 12 to 15 players, and when you're trying to get players better by repetition, having that many, you really almost have to divide them up into different groups in order to get your position players enough hitting repetition and swings at the plate, and your pitchers enough quality time either on the actual mound or on a bullpen mound. And then you got the problem of having enough catchers to be able to handle that many bullpens with that many players. So it is quite a job of managing that, and something that I know Bobby as well as Steve and Josh and John are having to try to deal with.
They are, and like I said, they're doing a great job. I've been out there a number of times, watching them practice. They've split them up into groups, but another good thing about it is you definitely have enough people to intra-squad, so they can really intra-squad and really concentrate and really see how everybody goes up against each other. But the big plus for us is obviously it just brings students into this campus, and that's what our athletic department is really about. Is we really want to do everything we can to help grow student enrollment overall for BPCC.
Well, and they're both baseball as well as softball are about to start their fall ball season, so we'll start to see a little bit more of what Coach Gillum has in store. Probably a preview of the spring. Here this fall. Speaking of softball, having put together back-to-back 40-plus win seasons, it'll be very difficult for Coach Amanda Hamilton to duplicate the success that the Lady Cavaliers have had. However, if there's any coach around this campus, around this area, that not only believes she can duplicate that success but exceed it, it's Amanda Nordberg Hamilton and her assistant, of course, Kurt Williams. How hard is it to maintain a successful program at the junior college level when you have so much turnover every year?
Yeah, it's a challenge for sure. Amanda and Kurt do a great job. It's going to be fun to watch them this year. As we talked about our last episode, they lost 8 sophomores that were an integral part to their success that they've had the past 2 years. But they're going to be a completely different look this year from what I gather from Amanda and Kurt. They're going to be a faster team than more of a power team like they were last year. You have a lot of turnover, obviously, at the junior college level. You've got freshmen and sophomores. You got 2 years with them. It's a challenge just because you lose that leadership and you lose those players that you've worked so hard to work with. But we're excited about the group that she's got. And like you said, I know and I have the utmost confidence in Amanda that she'll be able to duplicate that success.
Well, and we were talking about Bobby and his staff having to deal with a number of players. Amanda this year, Coach Nordberg Hamilton and Coach Kurt Williams, having to deal with that as well to a lesser degree. She has about 30 players out for softball this fall. And I know for a fact what she's been doing is they've been actually almost having 2 practices where one team may be out doing weights or conditioning, the other are out actually on the field getting reps. And she and Kurt have devised a plan there that they've implemented, and I think the girls have responded to it, where they are getting the repetition that they need in practice, where she can try to figure out who her best 9 are to put on the field and get them to start working together and forming a cohesive unit.
Yeah, if you go out to the fields and you watch either of those programs practice, baseball and softball both, they've done a great job of really structuring things so those kids can get the reps. And then as coaches, they're really trying to evaluate, when you have that many players and there's a limited number of spots, obviously, that can play, then they use that time to evaluate and go, okay, who's going to give us the best chance to win in the different positions that we have. But again, we go back to the fact that, baseball has 60 players, Amanda's brought in 30, women's basketball had almost 20, men's basketball about 18, and then cross country with almost 10. We started the fall semester with 140 student athletes, which is the most we've ever had. And so that's exciting for us because that tells us that we're doing things that make athletes in the area and across the country want to come here for the opportunity to play sports.
Well, John, let's talk a little bit, if you will, about some other interesting things that we have going on in athletics, well, in the time that we have remaining. First of all, we're going through a new branding campaign.
Yeah.
And we haven't introduced it yet, but talk a little bit about that. And also, in the future, we're going to be introducing, hopefully right around the same time, we hope, a new athletics website, athletic-specific website. So if you will, address those that we can maybe address later in a different episode once they've been announced.
Sure. Yeah, we for a while wanted to do both of those things. Just work on kind of a branding / logo that would be athletic specific, that we could utilize for merchandise, for a kind of a uniform look on our uniform, so to speak. And just a way to really kind of do a better job of getting the word out of BPCC Athletics and establishing that brand of Cavalier Athletics. And the website just goes right in with that. It fits right in with that. Obviously, it's the digital age now, and people go to the web, whether it be on their computer or on their phone, to get information. And so we need to be able to disseminate that information in a quick manner to our fans.
Well, and not only that, it goes, for me, that's where it kind of started with everything. I mean, it's all part and parcel of establishing a brand for our athletics department, as well as, I mean, when you look around, the BPCC logo, the college's logo is very recognizable to us that are here in our little neck of the woods, so to speak, and particularly in Bossier Parish. When people see the BPCC logo, it's very recognizable. Everybody around here right away knows that that's Bossier Parish Community College. However, for athletics, it's a little bit of a different entity, folks, as we're in Region 14, the in JCAA Region 14, Division I, and we're the only school outside of Texas that participates in Region 14. So when we cross the border for all of our regional games and conference games, we're known as Bossier Parish.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of adapt into that, and whether it's the logo on the court, whether it's a brand on a cap, whether it's on a uniform or on the letterhead or email letterhead that we send out, we need to, as an athletics department, establish our own brand and identity.
Yeah, you're right, and we are. We're known as Bossier Parish to our conference opponents, and like you said, not only the BPCC logo, but the term BPCC is known well within this community. But just funny story, going back to hiring Coach Nichols. In the interview process, we would refer to BPCC, and she had no idea what we were talking about. So people outside of our community, they're not familiar with BPCC. They may be familiar with Bossier Parish Community College, or as you said in our conference, we're referred to as Bossier Parish, but it's not known as BPCC. So we want to take advantage of that and utilize that brand to become more recognizable in our community as an athletic program, in our region, and then across the nation as well. And you see all the time athletic programs at colleges developing a new brand campaign, a new logo campaign that's specific for their athletic department. And so we just felt like we want to go in that direction as well.
Well, and we talked about the website a little bit, and the website that goes just along with the branding campaign is having our own athletic-specific website. It'll end up being BPCathletics.com whenever we launch the new site, which we hope is going to be soon. Two more events that I want to talk about real quick before we have to close and go is tonight, the cross-country team, as we talked about just briefly, is having the Border Dash tonight at the South Bossier Park. And then tomorrow, Cavalier Junk in Your Trunk. Women's basketball is having a parking lot yard sale from 7 a.m. To about 1 p.m. on the east side of the BPCC gym. So if you're interested in yard sales, garage sales, that's your kind of thing, come out and visit the Cavalier Junk in Your Trunk tomorrow at the BPCC gym. John, thanks again for being our guest today. Really appreciate it. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for this episode of Cavletics. Join us again each and every Friday throughout the fall semester as we bring you the latest on Bossier Parish Community College athletics. I'm Charlie Cavell, the athletic coordinator at BPCC, bidding you a good sports day.